Namaskar friends, welcome to the video on vomitings in pregnancy. As we all know that vomiting is also considered one of a main symptom in pregnancy, in early pregnancy. In movies we have already seen many a times that the heroine or the woman concerned, she vomits and then a doctor comes and gives the good news that she is pregnant. So since long it has been considered one of the important symptoms in pregnancy. So we will be studying this in detail about vomiting in pregnancy and how is the incidence, what are the causes, how it is managed. So let's start first with the classification of vomitings in pregnancy. We can according to the duration of gestation, when the woman is coming to you with the symptom, we can classify it as early pregnancy causes, and late pregnancy causes. So first we will see the early pregnancy causes. Now vomiting in early pregnancy can be only because of pregnancy. So vomiting related with pregnancy. Vomitings due to the pregnant state. So and vomitings that are not related to the pregnant state, but they are due to some other medical or surgical or other gynecological causes. So in that case it is the associated thing that she is pregnant and she developed suppose cholecystitis or appendicitis or intestinal infestation. So she will come to you with vomiting and she is pregnant. That vomiting is not because of pregnancy. So we need to classify and we need to identify the causes when a woman comes to us with the symptom of vomiting. So vomiting related and other associated. Now coming to vomitings that are related to pregnancy. In early pregnancy it is simple vomitings of pregnancy, or we can say them emesis gravidarum. And another which is nowadays very rare, almost it is seen in 1 in 1000 pregnancies. This simple vomiting is seen around in 70 to approximate it is said 3/4 of pregnancies. 3/4 of pregnancies, so approximate 70%. And the hyperemesis gravidarum, where these vomitings of pregnancy, they hamper the health of the woman, pregnant woman. It is called hyperemesis gravidarum and it is rare, or it is seen around 1 in 1000 of pregnancies, or even rare nowadays. So these are the in early pregnancy vomitings due to pregnancy, that is simple vomiting, emesis gravidarum which is very common, and hyperemesis gravidarum which is rare. Now coming to associated causes, that medical or surgical or gynecological cases that are associated with the pregnant condition. So these associated, they can be classified into medical causes. Medical causes like worm infestations, she could be having migraine. In that case it is associated with headache also, worm infestation, migraine, and other causes like hepatitis. In that case on examination you will find that she is having icterus. Then in cases of diabetic ketoacidosis, definitely there is a history of diabetes in that woman. And in cases of uremia, renal causes, so you have history of kidney disease in that patient. So in this way we can differentiate them as medical causes, associated medical causes. Now associated surgical causes. Associated surgical causes, this can be gastritis or appendicitis. In this case, she will come with history of pain in abdomen and fever, and in cases of this cholecystitis, she will again come with pain in upper abdomen. Gastritis, appendicitis, cholecystitis and gastric ulcer disease, acid peptic disease. Acid peptic disease, it will be associated with typical pain if it is duodenal, then which is after meals, pain in abdomen. And now after the surgical causes, coming to gynecological causes. This can be, she is having fibroid and it undergoes red degeneration. Red degeneration, this is rare. Mostly it is seen in the second half of the pregnancy, but you should be aware. She is having ovarian tumor associated with pregnancy and it undergoes torsion or twist. So twisted ovarian tumor in that case also. And the third one is ectopic. Ectopic is considered in gynecological cases, although there is a history of amenorrhea, and in all these three cases she will come with pain in abdomen. And in case of this fibroid and ovarian tumor, the uterine height will be more than the period of, you may be feeling that lump in her abdomen in early gestation when the uterus is even not palpable. So these are the causes of vomiting in pregnancy, in early pregnancy. Now these medical, surgical and gynecological causes of pregnancy related vomiting in pregnancy, they continue throughout the pregnancy. It's not like they are present only in early and not in only this ectopic pregnancy is present in early pregnancy. Otherwise all other causes, they are present in early as well as late pregnancy. Now coming to causes that are specific to pregnancy in late pregnancy. Later part of pregnancy, what are the causes? This simple emesis gravidarum, it continues in around 10 to 20% women till term. So this simple, and sometimes it gets aggravated. Simple vomiting, it continues till term in some women, in around 10 to 20% women. Then it may become aggravated again after getting settled in middle pregnancy, in later part of pregnancy it may get aggravated. And the third one is severe preeclampsia. Severe preeclampsia, this is important. There will be associated raised blood pressure of the woman and proteinuria, and it is a life threatening condition. So you should give importance to that severe preeclampsia in later part of, if a woman comes with vomiting in later part of pregnancy, you need to rule out this preeclampsia. This is important because that is the life threatening condition. Earlier it was said imminent eclampsia, but severe preeclampsia, you can say it is imminent. Woman may turn to be eclampsia in later duration of pregnancy, and if she is having this severe preeclampsia with vomiting, her DTR, deep tendon reflexes, are brisk, in that case you, depending upon what are the condition of the mother and what are the other parameters, you may need to terminate the pregnancy. This we will be discussing in the chapter related with preeclampsia, hypertensive disorders in pregnancy. So now coming back to these vomitings in pregnancy. Now simple pregnancy, I have told you it is present in around 3/4 of the women who are pregnant, mostly present in primigravida, mostly gravidas. But if a woman is having vomiting in pregnancy, in her first pregnancy, there are more chances that in her subsequent pregnancy she will develop again these vomitings. So primigravida, and especially in cases of nowadays these vomitings in pregnancy, it is treated very well because of the presence of drugs. So if woman comes to you that she is having amenorrhea, she is having pregnant, you do the urine pregnancy test and you confirm the intrauterine pregnancy, and you start with the antiemetics and you reassure her, and you tell her the dietary advice about, which is important. Some women, they get relief only by dietary changes only. Dietary changes are like you can ask her to take some biscuit or banana when she wakes up at midnight. That some carbohydrate rich food you are giving, and you are avoiding the prolonged fasting. You are avoiding the prolonged fasting. She should be advised to have small frequent meals, small meals but frequent. So if she takes meal which is less than she is feeling satiety, it is advisable. She should take small frequent meals, and protein rich diet should also be included, and some carbohydrate rich food during night is important, like some biscuit or some banana she can take at around whenever she is waking up in the midnight. So prolonged fasting is advised, to be avoided, and frequent small meals are to be taken. Many women get relief and they only feel nauseated and they don't get this vomitings. So drugs are avoided. In case if they are having vomiting in spite of doing these dietary changes, then in that case we advise the medicines. So medicines of choice, first of all, is antihistaminic drug, which is doxylamine succinate. Doxylamine, its dose is around 10 milligram, can be given twice a day. Mostly it is given twice a day, but if the twice a day dose is also not controlling, you may increase up to 10 milligram 4 times daily. Then pyridoxine is included. So you get in market the brands that are giving doxylamine along with either folic acid or with pyridoxine. So in that case doxylamine is the first treatment that we give. Now the second is, if she is not even getting relief by this doxylamine, then we can add the ondansetron. Ondansetron, which is serotonin receptor antagonist. It is added to the treatment. Most women, they get relief by these medicines and dietary changes. You advise her that some food, some smell of some food, it aggravates the vomiting. So you should ask her to avoid those things, then dietary management, and if it is not controlled, then you can add medicine. This is the simple vomitings in pregnancy. Mostly you will see simple vomiting in pregnancy in your clinical practice or in your clinics, in OBGY clinics when you go. It is a very common symptom in first trimester of pregnancy. Now coming to the severe part of this simple vomitings in pregnancy, that is hyperemesis gravidarum. It is rare nowadays because of the early diagnosis of pregnancy in women, better antenatal care and dietary advice, and the better availability of the drugs. This hyperemesis gravidarum is rare, but it is seen in around 1 to 1000 pregnancies. What is this hyperemesis gravidarum? How will you classify whether this is simple vomiting or it is hyperemesis gravidarum? Hyperemesis gravidarum means the vomiting of pregnancy that are hampering the health of the hampering the maternal health, and it interferes in the normal day-to-day functioning of the woman. In that case, it is labeled hyperemesis gravidarum. She comes with you mostly with signs of starvation and dehydration. You should not ignore if woman is coming with vomitings and signs of starvation and dehydration. In that case, what you need to do, you need to label her hyperemesis gravidarum. You will then admit her and you will initiate the treatment. You will restore this electrolyte fluid balance, treat her dehydration. You will treat her this treat the starvation and its related metabolic changes, and simultaneously we will start the antiemetic drugs to prevent further vomitings. So this treatment part will be taken in the later part of this video. Now coming to the hyperemesis gravidarum. Now there are, what are the causes? Why some women they are having this vomiting? First of all, why women they have vomitings in pregnancy? So the etiology is the same for simple as well as for hyperemesis. In some women it is aggravated, so they become hyperemesis gravidarum. Now coming to why women in pregnancy they have vomitings. What are the causes? So exact cause is not known, but there are some theories. Coming to etiology, what are the theories proposed? First is it is because of the HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin. Why it is linked? Because this HCG is highest in first trimester of pregnancy, and we get maximum vomitings in pregnancy during the first trimester. So this is the hormone which is present in the first trimester in abundance, and this vomiting they come. So peak level of this HCG when it is reached, then the peak intensity of vomiting is also reached. So HCG is considered to be the causative agent of this vomitings in pregnancy. Now what are the other theories proposed? Progesterones, pregnancy. Progesterone, we know that progesterone it supports the pregnancy. Progesterone causes smooth muscle relaxation, and because of this smooth muscle relaxation, what happens that GI motility is impaired, and that causes gastritis and it causes vomiting. So this is another theory. Now estrogen is also said to be causative, because estrogen component, which hormone which is elevated in pregnancy, it is said because why this happens, estrogen in OC pills, when a woman is also taking OC pills, she feels nausea and vomiting. So estrogen is the component which is responsible for that. So all these hormones that are necessary for a pregnancy survival, they are the causative, said to be the causative agents. Now this is the hormonal cause, first theory. Then psychogenic. As since centuries we know that vomiting is considered the symptom of pregnancy. So when a woman misses her first period, second period, she develops these vomitings in because of this psychogenic cause. Now third is dietary deficiency. It is moreover that dietary deficiencies are the result of these vomitings in pregnancy rather than the cause, especially vitamin B6 and B1, thiamine and pyridoxine. Immunological causes are also said to be because of the fetal implant, which is said to be a foreign organ in a mother's body. So some immunologic causes may be the reason for vomitings, and because of the progesterone and reduced GI motility, it is said. Now few important things. In women, those who are having severe vomitings, that is hyperemesis or severe forms of this vomitings in pregnancy, it is noticed that around there is an increased chance of 1.5 times that the woman, what she is conceiving inside is a female fetus. So if a woman comes to you with severe form of vomitings in pregnancy, it is more likely that she is carrying a female fetus. Again, the hormonal theory is supported by this finding. Now, what happens? There is vomiting which leads to starvation. She cannot take anything, whatever she takes, it comes back. So, it leads to starvation. Then, because of the starvation, there is low glycogen reserve and fatty acids are utilized. So, these fatty acids are utilized for fuel, which leads to development of ketone bodies. So, ketoacidosis, and this ketoacidosis, it again leads to vomiting. Once a severe form of vomiting develops, then it leads to starvation, ketoacidosis, and again vomiting is precipitated. So, it becomes a vicious cycle. We need to break this when we have to treat the woman. Now, what is the pathology? As this severe form of pregnancy, hyperemesis gravidarum, it is very rare. Its complications are also very rare nowadays because of the early detection of pregnancy, the initiation of treatment and initiation of dietary advice and better antenatal care. It is very rare that we see the complications of hyperemesis gravidarum, but still you should be aware as you are studying this topic, what could be the outcome if you don't treat this in time. So, what you see in liver, there is centrilobular fatty infiltration. In liver, what you see, there is centrilobular fatty infiltration without necrosis. If you have to take the biopsy, if it is becomes severe, you don't treat it, or the woman doesn't come for treatment and she comes very late to you, then centrilobular fatty infiltration is seen, but without necrosis. If you don't treat the severe forms of vomitings in pregnancy, it is likely that woman may even die because of the complications. So, just because of the better implementation of antenatal care and better treatment, you don't see such complications nowadays. But you should be aware that if it gets neglected, if it undergoes unattended, what can be the outcome? So, this liver, then kidneys. Because of the acidosis that is occurring in the body, ketoacidosis, what happens that there is a fatty changes in the first convoluted tubules as well, it is seen. Heart, because of dehydration, heart size is small and there may be seen subendocardial hemorrhages. Subendocardial hemorrhages may be seen in heart in severe cases of vomiting in pregnancy. And in brain, it is earlier it was seen when the antenatal care was not proper, when women they don't used to get admitted for these things, it was seen that they would come in the later part with Wernicke's encephalopathy, and there is hemorrhage in hypothalamic region also. So, this is important that we need to address this problem in time and avoid the complications. Now, coming to metabolic changes that are occurring What metabolic changes you expect in case of vomitings in pregnancy? Severe forms of vomiting, where what metabolic changes? Because of the starvation, glycogen depletion, what happens? The fatty acids, they are utilized. Fatty acids are utilized as fuel, which leads to accumulation of ketone bodies. Fatty acid is used, ketone bodies are formed, and it leads to metabolic acidosis. What we see? Metabolic acidosis. Also, because of the frequent vomitus, what it contains? It contains the hydrogen. It is emptied outside every time. So what happens? This is again going outside. Vomitings, it causes acidosis, and also alkalosis is seen. Now what are the circulatory changes? Because of vomiting, extracellular fluid is depleted and it leads to hemoconcentration. And this hemoconcentration then leads to all other findings that we just discussed just now. So there is a volume depletion. In pregnancy is a state where we need the hypervolemia for smooth functioning of the maternal and fetal development and their harmony. We need what? We need hypervolemia. We discussed this in detail in maternal adaptations in pregnancy. But the vomiting, what it causes? It causes hemoconcentration. So this hemoconcentration, that reduces the blood supply to each and every organ, and almost all organs are affected. We just saw that liver is affected, kidneys are affected, brain, heart, they all are affected. All vital organs, they get affected. So these are the metabolic changes that are occurring. Now what are the clinical signs when of this thing? Clinical, how she will present? If she is presenting with within few days of her vomitings, repeated vomitings, she may come only with the sign of dehydration. Early, she may come only with the sign of dehydration. So you treat her, you admit her, you treat her dehydration and give her antiemetics that are recommended in pregnancy, and she gets fine, and then you discharge. Now when she comes late, suppose she lives in a far flung area, she doesn't have any nearby facility. So what happens? She reports to you when it is very late. In that case, everything that we just saw, we just learned, in cases of late, she will come along with dehydration. There will be seen starvation, acidosis, and she will be very sick in her looks. So what you are going to do when a woman is coming to you with severe forms of vomitings, what first thing that you are going to do is hospitalize her and IV fluids. Start her IV fluids. You hospitalize her, and what are you supposed to do? What is the basis of treatment? Number 1, treat her, correct her dehydration. Correct her dehydration by IV fluids. Restore her electrolyte and fluid balance. Then second thing, her nutrition. Whatever acidosis she is having, you have to correct it by providing her nutrition. And last one, you give antiemetics to stop further vomitings. Everything should be started side by side. It's not like that first you rehydrate her, then you give her proper nutrition care, and then you start everything. It should start simultaneously, and these are the targets of our treatment. You should not forget any of these. Once you hospitalize her, you do some basic investigations. You do basic investigations, and what important investigation you are not going to miss. If you are admitting a woman with hyperemesis gravidarum, get her ophthalmologic examination. Ophthalmologic examination. Her fundoscopy to rule out retinal detachment or any other retinal changes. So ophthalmologic examination is must. When she is admitted, you give a call to ophthalmologist. They will come and they will dilate her and do the fundus examination. What important other thing, you are going to do her CBC, her LFT, KFT, electrolytes and urine examination. What other thing that you are not going to miss? Suppose there is a potassium, we say it is fluid and electrolyte imbalance. If in case of her electrolytes, potassium is out of range, what are you going to do? ECG. Don't miss to do her ECG to get the baseline trace. These two things you are not going to miss. Now how to manage? Just now I told, control the vomiting, correct the dehydration and correct the nutrition and prevent complication. These are the targets, these are the aims when we admit a woman with severe vomitings in pregnancy. So now coming to what antiemetic drugs I just told you, doxylamine succinate, yes, it is used 10 milligram. You start the IV fluids and you omit, keep her NPO, nil per orally, you will keep her NPO. So we will be starting everything intravenous. And other thing, ondansetron, it can also be given intravenous. Prochlorperazine can also be given, but the first treatment is doxylamine and the second is ondansetron that we use nowadays. Prochlorperazine, it was used in previous days when ondansetron was not given approval. Now next thing, how will you start the intravenous fluid? How will you start with the intravenous fluid? You will be giving her 3 liter, 1.5 liter of dextrose and 1.5 liter of RL. In this dextrose, add thiamine injection, thiamine. This 5% dextrose, add thiamine, give intravenous first and then this combination. But if first thing that we will be giving is 5% dextrose. You may use normal saline also, but don't forget to give thiamine injection. And apart from this, if she continues to vomit in hospital also, then apart from this 3 liter, count her urine output and her vomitous output. Add them and replace them apart from this 3 liter. Suppose her urine output is 500 ml and her vomitous is around 200 ml. So you will be giving around extra 700 ml fluid apart from this 3 liter that is supposed to give. Now she is nil per orally and she started with parenteral nutrition and antiemetics, fluid, everything. How will you monitor her? By frequent biochemistry and electrolyte examination. You will send again, you will see how it is improving. Also she will, on repeated days you will find that she is now looking better, her dehydration is taken care of, nutrition is taken care of. Now starvation, ketoacidosis is not, she is not smelling ketone, and her urine output is good. Now she feels hunger. What are the signs that she is improving? What are the signs of improvement? Signs of improvement. She feels hungry. That means nausea is now not there. When there is no nausea, she will feel hungry. She want to eat something. Then signs of dehydration. Signs of dehydration are not present now. Urine output is good. Her looks improve. So these are the signs of improvement. Now what next? When to stop her intravenous and when to start perorally. When she has no bout of vomiting, no episode of vomiting in 24 hours. No vomiting during 24-hour period. Then you will start some orally. That is also high carbohydrate. High carbohydrate like biscuits, you will give orally. Dry, low residue, you will give her, start her along with the IV fluid, and then slowly what you do, if she is again not having any vomiting, then you can stop her IV and continue with the oral antiemetics. You will continue with the oral antiemetics. So this is important, how timely treatment of this severe vomitings in pregnancy can save the mother's life and avoid drastic complications. This is very common thing we come across, this vomitings in pregnancy, but fortunately in our era we are not coming across the severe forms of vomitings in pregnancy leading to that complications that I just told you. But you should be aware, as you are the student, you are learning, you should be aware that if it is not taken care of, what can happen and what used to happen in earlier days. So sometimes earlier termination of pregnancy was also to be thought of when it was not controlled or it was causing severe risk to the mother's life. But fortunately nowadays no termination of pregnancy is being done in cases of because of this indication. And what something that you should be aware of, that this pantoprazole, which is very commonly used in hospital setting and in clinical setting, it is not used in pregnancy. You should avoid giving this pantoprazole because it is not approved for use in pregnant women. In your clinical practice also it is advisable not to use this pantoprazole, or you may get into legal trouble if something wrong happens to the mother.